Together, they'll explore the theme leadership in technical writing, challenges and opportunities. Please join me in welcoming them. It's my honor to introduce our esteemed panelists.
It's a pleasure to welcome our esteemed panelist, Priya, Shetye, Kamthe, representing BMC Software. Priya is a seasoned technical communications professional with over 20 years of experience in writing, content strategy, and leadership. As a mentor and leader, Priya has guided writers to excel, innovate, and grow professionally, fostering a culture of continuous learning and excellence. By the way, she traveled all the way from Pune to attend to be a speaker in this session. Let's give a warm welcome to Priya as she joins us on stage.
Welcome, Priya. It's my privilege to introduce our esteemed panelist, Sudipta Sarkar from Synopsys. She's a seasoned professional with an incredible 25 years of experience in technical writing and began her journey in the telecom and networking domain. Sudipta is passionate about contributing to the organization's documentation projects, leveraging cutting-edge tools and technologies, and leading a fantastic team. Sudipta brings a wealth of experience, adaptability, and a love for continuous learning to our panel. Please join me in welcoming Sudipta to the stage.
As Shruthi has already been introduced as a presenter, she hardly needs another introduction. Her impressive 16-year journey in product design, driving user-focused solutions, and fostering innovation speaks for itself. Now, as a panelist, we are excited to hear more of her valuable insights and experience. Please join me in welcoming her once again. To guide us through this engaging panel discussion, let's invite Puneet to join us on stage as our anchor. Please give him a warm welcome.
Okay, so first of all, welcome all. Yeah. So for audience, so the topic you already know, and just to give you a background, in this panel discussion, we're not talking about the general stuff that we already do. You all know that. So it's a different level. That's what we have tried. In case you don't feel it's like a different level, then please forgive me for that. Primarily, so we'll get started, and in between, I will come to the audience also. There you can also share your thoughts as well as questions also. So it will be a mix. Okay. So thank you again for joining, and let's get started. So my first question is, what does the future look like in an era dominated by emerging technologies like AI and automation? So you can start with Priya.
On. So there's a lot of buzz on AI right now, and I think the first question people come up with is AI going to replace you? And then you kind of see a meme where I just got it this morning, where there was an AI camera that thought the referee's ball head of the ball, and the whole match kind of followed the referee. So no, AI is not going to replace us, but it's most definitely going to be making our lives much easier. If you look at it a lot, I mean, the whole conference is started from the morning. People have been telling us how they've been using AI to make life easier, and that's what it's going to do. It's going to make our life much easier. We'll be able to wrap up tasks faster, but at the end of the day, it's not going to replace the human factors, the human intelligence. I'm not sure who used the term, but that was used across it. And that's going to continue to be the requirement. The focus will just shift, and a lot of people who might be doing mechanical jobs, it will just move to upgrading themselves to do more intelligent jobs. But otherwise, I think the trend is that we continue to use AI, continue to automate, try to make our jobs easier, but we're not going to be replaced.
Very cool.
I have one point to add to this. We keep talking about technology, AI.
others, but I would want you to think that there are many areas in this world where there is no electricity even. So technology hasn't really replaced a lot. There are areas where technology is accelerated, but don't take it too far.
So what I feel is that with the advancement in the technology, definitely we are going to have more complex processes and products. While AI and machine language may ease the technical writer's job a little bit in terms of repetitive statements or code snippets or maybe analyzing the user, but with the complexity, you have to keep on creating new content, and for that, the role of a technical writer is a necessary, permanent and stable and requirement, I would say.
Certainly. And probably learning from the sessions that we had so far, there was a session on AI and all. Out of that, and now from answers from you, and I feel, yes, technology has been always there, but humans have a tendency of getting better. Right? So, we all are safe as long as we use our brain.
As long as we learn and evolve, we stay valid.
Exactly. So, like you mentioned about the mechanical job, so somebody in the presentation also said copy-paste writers or something like that. If you are a copy-paste writer, without technology also you are a failure. Okay, so moving on to now another question. So, well, it's Shruthi here. Can knowledge of product design principles, although you have already emphasized, so can knowledge of product design principles enhance the work of technical communication in creating user-centric documentation?
Yes, of course. Like I said, is the user wanting to spend time or save time? And with documentation, it's always save time. That's not the primary product they're here to consume. They have another product which they're not able to do their document process and they come here for help. They want to quickly understand how to do that and get back to their main work. So if you can think from that area, from user's perspective, and design your documentation, it would help.
Certainly. So here I would just like to go to audience for kind of just raise hand, because when we say product design and then we talk about we are technical writers, how many of you think we are related actually? Yeah, pretty much in theory. In practice, how many of us do it? Product design, that's not my cup of tea. Right? So probably, yeah. So what do you guys say about this question, product design?
I unfortunately have worked in organizations where there are no visible design team. But what we have seen is that working with the developers, the testers, the product management team, without any proper design team or UX designers, they have given a lot of emphasis to the technical writing team. They have repeatedly asked to test their UI or the backend installation and to improve the efficiency of the product. And I would say that the technical writer has a huge role in product design and the intuitiveness of the entire offer that an organization has to do.
So yeah, so I hope all of you are taking that point, and in case you are doing it, you do it. Yeah, Rama, you are raising your hand. You want to say something? Can you pass on the mic, please? So those of you who don't know Rama Rao, she is from Oracle. Yeah, Rama.
Hi. So my question is, most of us work for product companies, and we are in this process of building patches and releases and updates. So in this scenario, how can we think about, like when we say tech writers have to think about documentation from product design perspective, we hardly have any time to think about releasing the content for the existing upgrade or patch. So how do we think as product designers in this scenario?
Yeah, please.
I think one of the key things is that our daily work is never going to stop. But at some point of time, if your team is not thinking about how do you want to implement the documentation better, based on by using the product, your management is going to ask you at some point of time. I think in a cycle of 2 or 3 years, there's always, okay, what is documentation going to give back to me? So we have to keep evolving, and in the process of the cycle of giving our patches, our monthly releases, our ad hoc flashes that are going on, we have to keep an open mind, keep reading about what's happening and see how we can implement it. Because otherwise we are going to be a team like, we gave them the requirement, they took out a document, published it, that's their job. We are not a printing press. And we have to prove our worth, which is why between all that chaos, it's not going to happen. You won't say today I will do it, I'll take a 3-month project and do it. It will take a year, it will take more than that. But you have to start somewhere. Because otherwise, a year and a half down the line, your manager is not going to ask, your manager is going to ask, what's the ROI coming out of here? Are we just publishing stuff? Then there's no ROI in there. It's an hour and a half. Never comes as a part of the job. And that's the fact of the matter.
I have another point. So, in a lot of organizations I have worked, we have tried to maintain a close relation with the customer support team and people who reach out to customers for presentations, and we have tried to understand what are their main pain points. And this was not facilitated by a manager or by a leader. So it is just a proactive step to understand how to make the documents better. And we were able to show statistics on how, when we have interacted with these teams, how the number of document issued or the product bugs have reduced in the process. So it's more like take a proactive approach, try to bring in a scenario where you are able to give a solution, and then showcase that so that that can become a part of the job portfolio.
Fair enough. Thank you. So stretching the limits is the key. Somehow we will have to do it. Otherwise there is no escape.
I hate to say that, but unfortunately we've all done it at every point of time to move from where we are. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, I thought one last question, when we are working for patch release, how can we implement design aspect? That is my understanding of the last question. Shruthi, we have to answer for that.
Design aspects into documentation?
No, during the patch release, incremental release.
Yes, so have a long-term view of the product. The more you're going to have visibility into long-term view of the product, patch releases, okay, you can place it. It's just a small thing that I need to adjust. I can give you an example of how I've been working in design. When I started working with the current product in Conviva, 5 designers were working on the same product, and they couldn't design to the pace of development. They were playing catch up to every sprint releases, right? And then I was able to take a long-term view and kept aside all the other designers somehow went on to different products, and I was the only designer. But instead of playing catch up to every sprint, I went upstream and said, so what is the long-term view of the product? What is it now? What is it going to be 6 months from now? 1 year from now? Understood that pattern, took a 20,000 feet view of that, and now I'm able to design something that gets implemented a year down the road. So I'm not even playing one sprint or 1 quarter catch up anymore. So go upstream as much as possible and take the long view.
So here when we are talking about stretching the limits, so one question, and all of us know, like even if we are tech writer, we often feel working like a UX writer at times. So now next set of questions is about technical writing and UX writing both, all of you. So what new skills first will technical communication communicators need to stay relevant? What new skills will technical communicators need to stay relevant in this rapidly changing landscape?
So again, like I said, we are going in with AI and automation. I think one thing that we have to learn is how do you train your AI to get the best out of the work that you want to do for your purpose. A lot of us are using AIs for creating our videos. So it's not that you're just going to say, okay, create a video on ABC and it's going to create you a perfect video. You train your AI. You train them how you need to get the output. So that will become an important skill, trying to understand how you're working with the AI. Other than that, our collaboration skills need to improve. I think nothing too different from what we do right now, keeping up with what's the latest that's happening, making sure that we are collaborating, we are learning at all points of time. At this point, I really can't think of anything more. I think it's just about, because a new generation is coming in, new AI, new operations happening, then we need to upskill ourselves to see how to use what's out there and make it to the best of our ability.
Right. So, do you have anything to add?
Probably I align with what she said, but what I feel is upskilling is very, very important because the technological complexities are increasing by the day. Also, what I feel is technical writing is such a field where we can have any approach, keeping on working on the releases and delivering the documents and not thinking beyond that, or having a portion of the time dedicated for some initiatives. Once you start an initiative that is matching with the AI or the AI philosophy of your organization, I'm sure you're going to get a lot of data, a lot of algorithms, especially in very complex scenarios like the semiconductor domain or the telecommunication domain. It's more, UI is very less, it's more of the back-end processes and how to make it more efficient. So once you start doing that, you will get a lot of machine learning algorithms from the, basically from the PMM team, the product management team, and that can help a lot in the documentation. But one thing is that you have to think outside the box and stop thinking that I only have to do this release and then I'm done with my work. So proactivity and constant learning, that is very, very important, and getting to the bottom of the domain that you are working on. You need to understand the domain to give a fix for your documentation.
Wonderful. So, can I add, like, a release is just a comma in our professional life, and the period is never going to come as long as you're working, right? So, just so with Shruthi, I would like to ask this question, because many technical writers are here and they do a lot of work which are close to UX writer, and many want to become UX writer also. So, in the product design process, considering all these changes, how is the role of the UX writer evolving with the current trends?
I haven't worked with many UX writers, obviously. I've doubled down as a writer in many situations because I haven't worked with established big tech companies. But then UX writers, what I see is that they don't define themselves to writing anymore. Can they be part of the design or the product thinking is where they're heading towards? Because they have the necessary user empathy and their writing skills are there. Only they don't have to actively design while they can participate in shaping the product in initial, let's say, there was waterfall, there's agile, and then now you see a lot of teams moving towards continuous discovery and development, right? When there is this continuous discovery happening, UX writers can participate in that discovery process by actively shaping the product thinking.
That makes sense, yeah. So, because many times to us, people keep on, first of all, the question is like, okay, I'm a technical writer, but for some reason I want to switch to UX writing. So, they should know the challenges. UX writer is no more like what was defined in the wiki page. It has changed a lot. So, coming to one important aspect of tools, we all keep using so many tools, and AI has also given many tools. So let's go to the traditional documentation tools. So are traditional documentation tools keeping pace with the needs of modern technical communication? If yes, fine. If not, what changes are necessary? Any? So like
we are just trying to find newer ways of solving the questions that we have, I don't think the tools we use are answering the questions for us. We're just finding plugins to answer the requirements that we have.
Yeah, even if we talk about the tools, like we were just discussing famous tools from Adobe and all documentation tools. Why I have kept this question is, and that is more from an audience perspective of our message. I still hear many people saying, okay, technical documentation, what's the big deal? I need to just learn tools.
It's never about the tools.
It's never about the tools, okay? It's more about, first it was about writing, now it's about the approach and processes. So, tools are just tools.
Like as a designer, I keep getting this question also. What tools do you use for design? Like pencil, paper?
Seriously, yeah.
I think a very long time ago, our first question used to be in an interview is what all can you use?
Yeah.
Nowadays, we don't care. How do you perceive this? That's our first question. It's no longer can you use it. Because they evolve too fast, and in a span of 2 years, you've already learned 4 tools to get to your basics. So.
That reminds me, so I can't say my era, but probably around 2010 or before, one of the favorite written test questions used to be, what is Adobe FrameMaker? What is the difference between FrameMaker and what? And when you join the company, no, they are not using FrameMaker. They are not using so weird. I mean, so much so the emphasis on tools and all. But anyway, when we talk about approaches and all, one thing which the technical writing community should also be more familiar with, I feel, and there was a vision of the word called design thinking. So, from your perspective, what exactly is design thinking, if you can simplify for the audience?
Personally, design thinking is a phrase that I avoid talking about.
Sorry to put you in spot.
It's not too much spotlight for the wrong reasons. And everyone interprets it to however they can and what are the problems they're solving. But one thing that design thinking popularized is the concept of empathy. User and understanding user to a granular level, to an in-depth way that you can design very well, tailor it to that kind of people. Yeah. Apart from that, it's just a normal design process. If you abstract it, creativity as a process also is the same thing. Assimilation, incubation, serendipity, validation. That's the core creativity process. And design is same. Empathy is what? Empathy.
Great, thank you. So, getting to the technical documentation, including design thinking, how can technical writers use it, the methodologies, to identify and solve documentation challenges more creatively?
So I was going through an article today morning. In America, they have some security statement written all over the metros. So they say that if you see something, say something. That's what I think we restrict, as writers, we restrict our minds to say that we'll only write. We are not going to mention anything about whether there is a hindrance in using the product or whether there's a problem in the design of the product, because we think that nobody will listen to us. But obviously there has to be data backed up to whatever we say, and I'm sure everybody will hear the voice. So design thinking is closely related to what we are doing, because without a proper documentation, I don't think any product will sell well. I don't think any product has reached to that level where there is 0 bugs and they can use the product intuitively. I don't think we are going to reach that stage in the near future. So product documentation is very important, and so each writer has to align with the design, and they have to raise their voice to say that this is not working. So probably the design principles will start aligning with what the writer says, and obviously UX writing is very important there. And even a very rough sketch, wireframe drawn with a pencil and a paper, can lead to a lot of logical analysis. It need not be a very high-tech CAD software showing the design. So that is what my personal thoughts are, and if everybody starts thinking on that line, I think as writers we are going to be more useful to the organization.
That's, I think, wonderful. And so, to the audience, anybody actually using design thinking? Can you?
Yeah, I have.
Mike?
From my knowledge, design thinking is about framing your question correctly. What is the question you're trying to solve? That is where design thinking starts from. So you spend a lot of time, working on that question. What is the question you're trying to solve? And then keep digging down to the why. These are the two things that I know of which are the design thinking principles. And I think it's very important for us as writers to think about these two things. If I'm going to be, like we were talking about the PRD and reading the PRD and all that. So what exactly is the problem that we are trying to solve for the customer? What is this feature being used for? The feature has to be with the intent of solving some problem of the customer. So if you can understand that problem statement, and make that statement very, very clear and very, very refined, then you can, very clearly go down how to write. That will help you, come up with your principles of how to write. What exactly needs to be covered in this? That clarity will come in once you get that design question, that statement problem very well sorted out. So that takes a lot of time actually. And then you keep asking why. And there are two questions. One is what is working well and what can be done better. So if you can answer these two questions, I think we can, base our writing process on that.
Wonderful. Any more thoughts?
There is design thinking.
Yeah, so talking about design thinking, so this is what we did. Okay, sharing again story. I think I'm good at telling stories. I'll make it short. Okay, so he's looking at me. Okay, so what we did is we were looking at the documentation platform days ago, and since we were scaling up, the products were adding, right? Obviously, our left navigation was becoming very complicated. So we were thinking of let us take up a project to simplify the left navigation. Thankfully, at the same time, our co-founders told that why don't you also go and talk to your users? So according to me, design thinking is when you start keeping the user at the center and design everything around the user, be it a product, be it a document, or anything that you're delivering. That's precisely what we did. And when we actually started talking to the users, we realized that nobody uses left navigation. They just come to the documentation platform and they search. And we realized that our search was pathetic. And that is where the problem was. So when we got that insight, we kept that project on hold and we started working on search. And the moment we started working on search, we could immediately see that the CSAT improved and the ticket counts also reduced because people are easily able to find the easy terms like generator API keys. The search was giving all kind of random results, but with this search improvement, things improved drastically. So I think to me, design thinking is very, very important even for a documentation team, because if you start thinking what is that the user wants, not that what I want to build for my organization, the product takes a completely different shape and it becomes much more usable.
Very cool.
Just want to add to this. Already we see 3 different variations of what design thinking is. That's the problem with design thinking. So design and thinking, 2 very broad words. There is no design without thinking, right? And whoever mixed up these 2 broad words created a lot of problems.
So that's why actually I asked for the definition first. But one thing, on all these questions, if it appears like wayward to you, that from where we are coming and next question is coming. The message to all of you and all of us is, many things we all are doing, but we don't play in front of people using the same term. Use those terms. Say design thinking is part of your role. Don't just say I do this, I do that. So we do a lot of this. Probably definitions may vary, but yeah, we do a lot of this. Yeah, sorry, one minute.
Yeah, hi Shruthi. Since you were talking about design thinking, of late, like I have been doing research about it, and the design principle, whatever is being defined according to the industry standards, right? So those, if in my company we use a lot of infographics. Ours is a UI-based product, and we use Doc 360 as a documentation tool. So we will have to prepare the infographics which will go according to the design principles. Like we have to balance, we have to apply all the principles like proximity, balancing, all that. If you apply to an infographic and you present it to the user, it will connect the entire stretch from the design or the documentation. And creating graphics and diagrams, even AI can do that. But as an individual professional, if you would want to add more value to it, I feel using design principles and creating more, user-centric graphics and diagrams, it will really help.
Yes, design principles help. My only contention is design thinking. All the rest, proximity, all these are core psychology principles or design principles, but design thinking was a codified phrase to popularize design. And also it created a simplified model of, so design was a mystery before. What do designers do? Magically they come up with something, kind of a thing. To codify that and explain design easy, they created this phrase design thinking, and everyone interprets it differently.
Okay, so that's all about trending things. There is one very boring thing, collaboration. So we all talk about collaboration, and not only for technical communication, everywhere, right? And when we are working in the organization, whether we have technical documentation team or UX team, product management and all, so the question is, still we see challenges about with collaboration. People don't know at times. So how can tech communication team foster stronger collaboration with, say, UX designers, product teams, developers to build a more integrated ecosystem? Who would like to take this?
So I think the key factor is that unless you go push them to talk to you, they're not going to talk to you. None of the things. Your R&D team doesn't have a choice because they want the documentation, but you support guys, your sales guys, your pre-sales guys. Even the UX UI guys, they will not associate with you unless you start giving them questions, try to give them an overview of how they are helping with trying to make their job easier. And I think the easiest people to convince are the support guys, because you can spend, I have done this in one of my products. They refused to give us data, so I said one day, just give me the support cases where we made log updates to get data on that. Fixed a lot of those issues. And then 6 months down the line, took a report of if there were any issues related in those areas. And I said, okay, look, you know what? These issues you want, we fix these items. And you're not getting any more questions on this. So let's share that data. The more data inputs you give me, you are talking to the customers direct. The more inputs you give me, the more I can help make your job easier. These are items you can get off. There are items where your support is you're getting support cases because there are 2 lines missing in that procedure that we put in. It will save you 20 other cases if you kind of just give me that info. So I think the best way to do it is try and get some information from them and tell them how you can make use of that. And I think at least 3 presentations spoke about the same thing. Unless you show them the value in the time that they're going to spend on doing what you're doing, it's an unfortunate part of the job is we have to show our importance everywhere we go.
Make yourself
we never get announced in the room, we have to announce ourselves.
Make yourself desirable rather than cheesy.
Collaboration is people problem, right? When you want two people to get together, there's always this question what's the mutual benefit? If tech writers are associating with designers so that their writing becomes better, then what is the value for designers to associate with writers? So both have to bring in value that helps each other. And value can be brought when both of them have a shared understanding. So
that applies to all the teams.
yes.
So true.
Just one thing. So sorry, I'm just taking a few seconds here. With the collaboration part, maybe the panelists can also just, I'm quoting one example that happened very recently in our company. Shruthi, you will know better. During the release window, we work with at the same company. So during the release window, the product manager did not like the name of the feature. So he changed the feature during the release window. Just hour before the release has to go to the customer, and we are already on the release window. So how any thoughts like how to handle that? Because then and there we had to update our documents, and we had to the entire doc, 16 documents to be precise. So 15 documents to be precise, and then we had to change the name, change the core software. They want step 1, 2, 3 became step 1, 3, 2, and everything changed during the release window, and the maintenance window got extended to the customer, and we announced it to the customer. So how can we as a doc team collaborate better there, and then how to handle that?
But the situation you are telling, there is no scope of collaboration.
How can we collaborate better? Because our documentation.
I was just kidding.
But in this case, there was a single person who made that change. So you can't blame your developers or the support team or the QA or the DP or collaborating on that.
You have to be conspicuous. If this person forgot that there is a documentation team and there are documents to be delivered, and this is highly dependent on that. So more than a reactive solution, after the release, you have to have a more proactive solution to touch base with that person, show what you're doing, and get his buy-in that if you really want the documentation, you need to touch base with us if you're taking a last-minute decision. And if you have a very strong leader, maybe you can stop publishing the documentation on that day.
I was actually in for that. I wanted to buy some time.
You need your leaders buy-in for that. And you need to have a very strong leader for that. I'm telling you, I have done that multiple times in my earlier organization. I stopped the release because I cannot change the documentation in the last moment. We would probably have around 50-60 documents in the queue. It's not possible for anybody, a human being, to change everything. And then in the next release, it will automatically come to you.
See, that happens in a structured environment, but if you're working in startup or a place which is...
I'm sorry.
Continuously changing, it doesn't happen. The product is...
I beg to differ. I have worked with startups, and in my previous startup, I was the senior manager, global head, and I used to be this Royal Bengal tigress during this. And one thing I wanted to share about collaboration is that one thing that really worked for me is that give before you take. So although I have been working remotely for my previous organization, but I built so many strong connections, not only with our stakeholders, but across the organization, that it became very easy for my team to communicate with them. That is one thing. And another is that when I used to visit our Gurgaon office, they used to say, you know more people than us. We come to office every day. So I think that is the crux of networking and collaboration, that, you know, it could be as simple as give a compliment. You see that they have received some award on LinkedIn, just give them a compliment, not on LinkedIn, but personally, it gives a very personal touch. And then when you expect a collaboration with the same person or with anyone in that team, that person will become your advocate.
So before writer, become a communicator first.
Yes.
Communicate.
Okay, so I do have this experience in my previous field when I was in pharmaceuticals. So I am just endorsing Sudipta, the process improvement.
So in this pharmaceutical field, you are not allowed to do that. You have a chain management process. So without that approval of that chain management, you cannot make any change, and that's a long-term process. So that they have to clearly think before they go for a change. I think that is a part of person.
That's what she was mentioning. How can they do that?
They can do that, but again, it's risk management and process improvement both combined.
Yeah, nice points. Thank you.
I'm pretty sure that I'm not sure, I know the software industry also has a change management process. It's just that the change management happened overnight in the example he's giving. And the thing is, and I agree with everybody who said that if your upper management supports it, like our team, you can ask Rahul, we ask him to shut down at a certain hour of the day. You have to let your team know that if this happens at this time of this point of time, it's going to take me so and so. We have to do these tasks. And this happens every time you make a change. The more you drill that into that, you can do it once or twice, take the time to get it done, but the third time just say boss. Because then they know what you're doing. You have to make them very painfully aware of the work you do. I'm not hitting one button, I'm doing 20,000 things around.
Excuse me, I have a point.
Stopping the release, what does it mean in terms of business? If there's an implication that there was a multi-million-dollar buy that was supposed to happen because of this release and because of documentation it got stalled, then there's a different change management process that happens.
No, my point is like it's a customer-centric thing where you say you stretch it, but you don't do it without letting them know the effort you're putting.
Yeah.
You do it that one time where you're saying, I get it, that your customer wants it tomorrow, I will stay up all night.
But why was it even done in the last minute? What were you doing before?
Software industry.
Actually, that's,
jokes apart.
so that's the point that, yeah, emergencies can happen, probably. But then we should probably identify that was it an emergency or was it that personal habit? If it's a personal habit like that, yeah, once done, next time, no. That's it. Every time you're coming like that only, so we do not do that.
Could we
And the
have
UI
it?
of the product also changed accordingly. I mean, the name everywhere. The name of the product, was it changed?
No, it was
Name of the feature.
it was a feature.
Name of the feature in the product.
The UI has
So
no
UI
has no
was it
impact.
changed?
Yeah, the UI was changed.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I have. See what happens, whether it's startup or established company, this product marketing managers, all these guys are very passionate. They come up with some name. A week, a day, a minute before release, they realize somebody already has that name, trademark, copyrighted. Good that they spotted it. If not just the dog thing, we have seen a lot of companies. So maybe possible.
The whole company is at.
Yeah, we have seen higher paid a huge price of so it's better to be safe, delayed than otherwise.
Okay, so here we have just 2-3 minutes left. You want to raise one point and then I will just open up for Q&A.
Yeah, so talking about collaboration, I have one point to say. Most of the HTTP developers are QA team. Every individual in the company are caught up with the work what they have to deliver. So they just, if they're working on a particular feature, they just know in depth about only that feature. So it's us technical writers who make them more knowledgeable, like by creating knowledge base or user documentation. I got feedback from developers and QA team that the documentation has really helped them out because to know the entire product as a whole, because the product is so complex that they can't know, even a developer can't understand all the features what are there in the product. So it's we who educate them by gathering knowledge from everyone, and we just educate them. So it's a really vital role what we play. And one thing what we fail to do is we fail to make ourselves visible in the company. The visibility is very low. So recently, my QA manager just helped me out. He made myself visible. He gave me tips to showcase my work, which is otherwise not really visible to anyone.
Most of the people, like there are cases where people, even the top most senior manager doesn't know who's a technical writer. So there are cases like that. So in these scenarios, these are really helpful.
That's very true.
To showcase our work.
Well, this thing is a very important point. Probably some of us don't realize how big work we are doing, how much we are doing. Yes, do your work very happily, but make it visible, make it count. And that is not boasting, you are just presenting your work. Okay, with this, maybe we can take one or two questions. And any questions?
Yeah, I would just like to add one point here, that we understand that we are putting in a lot of effort for everything, but collaboration, for me, one more key point is, even whenever you are going to talk to anybody, do your bit of research before you go. Don't just go with a blank face expecting that because he's a developer he can answer everything that he has. Be on their shoes, understand why this question is coming and where it is coming from. Then you go and ask, they'll respect you for your questions. But if you go and ask, what is this product, can you explain me? Next time they would just get up from their desk and leave the moment they'll see you coming towards them. So.
Any questions? We already had discussion, so I doubt if there will be any question, but still, any questions for our panelists? Abhinjay? I think everybody is good there. So, thank you.